Morning, everyone. Hope you had a nice week and a nice weekend. It's always nice to celebrate and have a good time. Once again, we have a shout out to our retired Vincentians in Perryville, Missouri, and especially for those who are in need of healing. And also, a special shout out to those who have asked for some prayers. And so we remember Brian, Clarence and Leonard, Ralph and Stan, and Ann, Kate, Nancy, Louise, Orstein, and Pat. We're hoping you get some healing soon. Enjoy the coffee, though. So, reflection. Tomorrow, Tuesday, is the birthday of our religious community, the Vincentian Fathers, and we're known as the Congregation of the Mission. But we celebrate our birthday on this conversion of St. Paul feast, but it's, we're founded in 1625, many years ago. And so we love celebrating our birthday. And so my reflection is pretty much on the joy of this Vincentian community that's been a part of my life for so many years. And so I've been thinking, in terms of in celebrating birthday, you celebrate a life. And the life of the Vincentians in my time, I recall, priests who really had an influence, and they're just legends. And, I can't remember them all and I won't mention them all, but, so tomorrow and tonight I'm thinking about the Carl Schultes and the Ed Rileys and the Huey O'Donnells. And I'm thinking about, all the priests who have had an influence. And I'll never forget Steve Gannell. He was the priest who signed me up to be a Vincentian. And so I'm reflecting upon the joys of this life that we celebrate in a birthday. And especially, I'm going to mention one priest because he represents for me what I try to do as a Vincentian. It's almost like he's the model of the 2H club in the Vincentian community. His name was Father Bernard DeGan, pastor in the parish that I grew up in. And I'm going to tell you about the 2 H's. And it's what I strive to do even to this day. Happy, helping. I always saw in Barney, that's what we call him, Barney DeGan. God, he had such a smile all the time. He just let you know he was happy and he was helping people. And that's pretty much what I want to do. Barney's the kind of guy that, I just laugh when I think about him because he was always so happy. He reminds me of the guy that, that this would be Barney. Somebody would come up to him and said, how do you cure fleas on a dog? And Barney would say, what's wrong with the fleas? He would make me laugh, and he just was a happy priest, and he was helping people. So that's what I want to do. And my encouragement to you is to be a happy person helping others. As often, my brother and I get together before a mission, and we're together, and I'd like for him to share some of his thoughts, especially as we celebrate this birthday of the Vincentians.
Greetings. I'm glad to be able to share some thoughts with you. Our community birthday is celebrated on the feast of the conversion of St. Paul. I take the word conversion. I used to think a conversion was about going from bad to good, and now I know that that's not what conversion is. Conversion, we're good people and we're not bad people, but we're good people called to greatness. So The challenge for conversion is what do I need to do to be called great in the eyes of God? I thought that I'm always reminded when that thought comes up about the Peanuts cartoon. There's one episode where Schroeder makes this big sign, and he writes on the sign, "Jesus is the answer," and he goes to Linus and puts it in his face. "Jesus is the answer." And he holds up the sign. Then he goes to Lucy and holds up the sign. "Jesus is the answer." Goes to Charlie. "Jesus is the answer." Well, Snoopy hears about it, and so he decides to wait for him, and he goes into his doghouse, and he makes his own sign, and he waits, and all of a sudden Schroeder shows up with the sign, "Jesus is the answer," and Snoopy comes out with his sign that says, "What's the question?" So I thought about that. What's the question? Who never stops loving you? Who never stops forgiving you? Who died for you? Who makes it possible to enter heaven? And who taught you how to love? And I think I know the answer to those questions. Jesus is the answer. So on this celebration of our community's birthday, my reflection is and meditation, and my thought is, I need to think about conversion, and I think about Jesus, and how great I am, how blessed I am that he loves me so much. So in thanksgiving for this, I'm going to say the prayer, our mission prayer, and I ask you to join me as I say it. Divine Savior, transform me into yourself. May my hands be your hands. May my tongue be your tongue. Grant that every faculty of my body may serve only to glorify you. Above all, transform my soul in all its powers, that my memory, my will, and my affections may be the memory, the will, and the affections of you. I pray you to destroy in me all that is not of you. Grant that I may live but in you, and by you, and for you, and that I may truly say with St. Paul, I live now, not I, but Christ lives in me. Thanks for listening. Look forward to seeing you next week.